Good afternoon everyone, welcome to take two of this video. Again, I am on a really old iPhone and it doesn't have facility to pause the video and then carry on because the phone rang. I was like 3 minutes from the end of the video and the phone rang. So now we have to start again. Anyway, welcome to everyone returning to watch my videos. Welcome to first timers who are perhaps visiting because I'm going to be doing Know Your Needlework 30 odd videos too late. I am Rach or Rara, and I have gone from one project to currently 9, but 8 major ones, and I'm sharing my progress of that each week this year. I'll explain everything as we go along. Anyway, I'm a bit confused now, having to start right back from the beginning again and remember what I said. Sorry. I have 3 projects to share, no haul, which is why I'm going to do the Know Your Needleworker this afternoon. I'm a bit late getting this up than normal. I had appointments to take my mother to this morning, so it's all a bit late, but I'll get it done and get it up even if it's late. That's no big deal really. Okay, the 3 projects I have to share are Plum Street Samplers Harvest Keeper. I have completed that half and I'm now starting to get this side done. I'm calling this my focus piece. It gets 4 days per rotation, plus it gets extra days I have some free slot days in my rotation, and I'm primarily working on this with a goal to getting it done. So I have done, since you saw it last, I have done, oh dear, I apologise for the lighting, it's really, it's miserable outside today. So I have got, that's the whole thing. Have a look at that and then we'll do this, might be easier. So I've got the pink flower, you can see it's coming up quite nicely, and I've got the flowers around here, and I actually finished the rest of the tree, so the tree's completely finished now. I felt I had a little mini finish when I got all of these leaves, all the colour of this leaf done. I almost deluded myself in thinking I was nearly finished, and then I just had to remind myself, no, I've just finished those leaves. So there's a different colour leaf and acorns to do, and then my harvest keeper lady with her pink flowery bum. The next project I just added a tiny bit more to. I'm working on Shakespeare's Peddler Antique Scissors and Spools. When I showed this last time, I've got S&C, yep. That spool, that pair of scissors, and that pair of scissors. And I've just added another pair of scissors at the top here and the other spool. And I'm doing this, I don't know if this is 32 or 28 count. It's a raw linen, and I'm using Gentle Arts Presidential Blue, which if you've never watched my videos before, you won't know that I have a love affair with Presidential Blue. And I have a Presidential Blue wall to be. This will be the first piece for it. Anyway, so my rotation started again on Monday, no, today's Monday, Friday. And I've only had 2 days to stitch on this because I was out all day yesterday, and I was out pretty much most of the day today. So I'm working on my project 1, which is Little House Needleworks Orchard Valley Quilting Bee. I'm using the called for DMC, possibly the called for linen, not sure. I'm doing it on lamb's wool anyway. So I had it all folded up because I had shown you already. So when I showed this to you last, I had just done this brown scallopy. So I've done the leaves inside, the hearts, and that first diagonal. I was kind of hoping to get this motif done in here, but I don't know that I'll stitch any more today. So we'll get there. So that is that. I don't have any haul. I've got 3 orders in the process, I guess. One has shipped, I've got the tracking for that. The other two still haven't shipped. One, it's been 2 weeks, and on it there were some things for 5 to 7 days. Well, but it obviously takes 2 weeks, and I don't know why the other one's not progressing. I'll have to wait until probably this time-ish tomorrow, which is Monday in the US, to have a look at the account on the website and just see what it's saying. Anyway, that is my stitching that I have to share. What I'm going to do now is do the Know Your Needleworker tag. So if you're not really interested in that, I won't be offended if you switch off now. And I will see you next week for further progress. There'll be 2 things to show next week. Possibly some haul, but don't hold your breath. Okay, Know Your Needleworker. I don't know why I never really did it. Probably because I wasn't sure how I would be received, whether people would be interested in what I had to show and those sorts of things. So anyway, the general consensus from last week was people were interested, so I'm going to give it a go. And I can feel there is a cough just sitting there. I don't really cough anymore. It seems to have gone, but I'm talking a lot, so I will start. I'm going to put my notes are just here, which is why I'm going to keep looking away, because I've got props. Where do I live? I live in a small town north of Christchurch on the South Island of New Zealand, which is why it's very gloomy, because we are in the middle of winter. The snow word has been mentioned, hopefully for further south, but you just never know around here. As well as New Zealand. This area is called Canterbury. I'm a Cantabrian born and bred. I have also lived in Southeast Asia in a country called Brunei, and I've spent a lot of my adult life living in London, England as well, which is why sometimes you'll hear when I talk about some of my cross-stitch stuff, this is what I brought back from England, because when I came back I knew I wouldn't have a lot of money for a while, so I stocked up and kitted up and things before I left England. What do I do for a living? I am currently a paid carer looking after my mother, who has begun the journey of Alzheimer's. So I do everything. I run the house, I look after her, go to her appointments, all of those sorts of things, everything that a carer does. Prior to that, my training and qualifications, of which I have 3, are all in childcare. I started out as a nanny, then I trained as a nanny, and then I worked for a while, then I trained as a newborn nanny, or maternity nurse as they are known, although you're not actually a qualified nurse. I've maternity nursed for quite a while. Then I worked in the Well Child Health System in New Zealand and taught parenting education. And in England I finished up being a childcare assessor, assessing the practice of childcare students, their practical and their knowledge, written and practical, I guess is the way to put it. So I was assessing their practice and deciding whether or not they were fit to look after children. And the less we say about that, the better. Okay, any other hobbies other than cross-stitch? Yes, because I'm late to coming to cross-stitch. I put one proper way. Allow me to bend down. My other main hobby, I guess, is I am a hobby demonstrator for Stampin' Up. I do have 1.5 customers, because the half is her friend and I've never met her, it's all done through the one. And the phone call that interrupted me just before is a potential second customer, which I'm very happy about. So I occasionally make cards. As I say, I just do it as a hobby. I don't run classes or anything like that at the moment. I love paper crafting, really. I used to scrapbook a lot, but I don't really have anything to scrapbook these days, so card making it is. So these are some examples of some of the cards that I have made along the way. This is one of my favourites. It's not my design, but I just made it my own. It's got a bit of bling. And this one also does have a bit of a bling, and I couldn't make it work the last time. I don't know if you can see the bling. So those are just some of the cards that I've made. The holiday catalogue that Stampin' Up comes out for demonstrators next month, and I just think they make the most amazing Christmas stuff. So I'm gagging for next Wednesday when I can see it finally. The other hobby that I have had for quite some time but has kind of gone on the back burner with the cross stitching is crochet. I've chosen the side that's mostly dark colours. That's good. Is this side any better? It might be. I made this in England. Nice woolly blanket. It is 100% wool. I don't crochet in acrylic, partly because I can't stand the feel of acrylic, and partly because I prefer natural fibres where possible. So, and if I'm going to make a blanket, I'm going to make it in wool. You might as well have the warmth. So those are my two main other activities. I'm trying to make a hexagon crochet blanket, but I haven't picked it up for ages, so I didn't bother to show you that. At least this one's done. The other one's, oh, that's a good indication of the colours actually, with the white up the top. Lovely, love it. Children, no, worked with children, gave them back at 5, didn't have my own. Do regret I didn't have my own, but just the way life's turned out, I'm okay with that. Do I have pets? I do have a fur baby. I only have one. I did have another one, but he had to cross the Rainbow Bridge at the beginning of the year, so I tried to get him as a prop, but he was having none of it, so you'll have to cope with a photo. That's Charlie, who is 18 months old, thereabouts. We rescued him. He was abandoned at a friend's house further up country, so we rescued him and house trained him. Pets, favourite movie. This one I struggled a little bit to find a prop for. I don't really return to movies a lot. I do quite enjoy Mamma Mia, but I don't watch it loads. I can't think of any others. So the one that I probably have watched the most in recent years, because I try to watch it every Christmas, is It's a Wonderful Life. I love some of these old black and white movies, and this is just a really nice story anyway. And I've got, what's the one with Bing Crosby where he sings White Christmas? Oh gosh, I'm getting confused now. Oh, before I just move on, this was another crochet thing that I made myself before I left England. I went to a craft fair and I bought this lovely, oh, that's the back, lovely skein of wool, which is just so soft and beautiful, and I just made myself a thing. I'm being silly because I was doing this with my niece last night and I forgot that I'm not doing it with my niece right now. Anyway, so moving. Right, a favourite TV show. There have been heaps over the years. Probably I actually did have a video for that. Never mind. Probably my favourite TV show, and I've watched every one of them. I think there's probably only 5 or 6 that I've not seen in the 20 odd years it ran for, is an English archaeology program called Time Team, which I absolutely loved. I mean, New Zealand is an old country, but it has only been colonised for about 180 years. So we don't have Stonehenges and medieval cathedrals and churches and things like that, and I just love the history in England, and just watching things being dug up in people's gardens on Time Team, I just loved it. As I say, I've watched most of it now, so I don't tend to, it is still on here in New Zealand, but I don't tend to record it anymore because I've seen them all, and I start it and then I go, oh yeah, I know this one too much, and so I haven't been watching it for a while. Another series that I did like, I was very late to because it came on here in New Zealand while I lived in England, and it wasn't on in England. I don't know if it's ever been on in England actually. If any people, any English watchers, you could tell me. But it is called Offspring, and I thoroughly recommend this. There are actually 7 series. This is a box set of 1 to 5, and then they made 2 more series because people were, you know, we want more. So highly entertaining, very funny. I know why people raved about it. So I would recommend this if you ever get to see it, watch it. There's another Australian one called Doctor, which I would recommend too. I think it's very good. I've liked things like Grey's Anatomy. I watched for a good 8 to 12 years I watched it, and then I wasn't able to watch it, so I haven't watched any more since I stopped. And I am toying with buying the DVDs and building the series up again. And I've watched Mad Men, but I haven't actually watched the final series, so I've got the DVD but I still haven't watched it. Loved Sex and the City. New Zealand wise, 800 Words is this Australian-New Zealand collaboration. I think that's quite good. That's probably it in the New Zealand line, apart from some of the old comedies, but they're gone. Those are the main things. I'm trying to think what I've been recording just recently. Bull is an American legal program. The Good Wife. Oh, I loved The Good Wife. Which reminds me, one of the other things I'm recording at the moment is a program called Instinct, because it stars Alan Cumming in it, who was in The Good Wife. I'm a great fan of his acting. The program's a bit shit though, but I'm holding with it, but I don't know. It's certainly not the calibre of The Good Wife. What else am I recording at the moment? I think that's about it really. There's not a lot at the moment. MasterChef. We get the Australian version of MasterChef, which I quite enjoy. Right, so I've waffled about TV for quite some time. That's good. It's not going to fall over. Music. Okay, we can waffle about music now. My blanket keeps falling down. My musical tastes are probably defined by my time in London. So I like a lot of the Brit pop stuff, Take That, Robbie Williams, I can't think of any of the other ones, you know, Westlife, who's the other one, Boyzone. I also like a lot of really, I was going to say authentic, but that's probably not the right word, Irish folk. A lot of my time in my early years in London, which was 30 years ago, was spent in Irish pubs. So I got to know a lot of Irish and traditional Irish music. So in that vein, probably two of the Irish groups CDs I brought out. So this is Christy Moore, which is someone I would definitely recommend. He's amazing. His concerts, I've been to several of his concerts and they are just phenomenal. It's him and his guitar, and he does not like people singing with him. So if you start singing, he stops and waits for you to shut up, and then he carries on. It's just amazing. The best known Irish, obviously, is U2. This Joshua Tree. The next one I think is Rattle and Hum. I stopped buying U2 CDs probably after Rattle and Hum, so I don't know a lot of their later music, but their early stuff I really like. Then something that a lot of you will recognise, Garth Brooks. I know he's not Irish, but I don't know how I discovered him, but I really enjoy him. I like good, strong male voices. I don't like girly male voices. And I really like Garth's voice and his music. And of course, for me, the voice of all voices is Mr. Elvis Presley. But I only like his gentle stuff. Not Jailhouse Rock and all of those sorts of things. This is a Christmas one, isn't it? Yeah. I think there is nobody who has a voice like Elvis since, I don't believe. I think his voice is just incredible. So that's my music. You know, New Zealand stuff. I like a bit of everything, but it's pop and it's a bit of rock and it's a bit of folk music. And it's, you know, like the Irish tenors. I like the Irish tenors, those sorts of things. I don't like my ears to bleed when I'm listening to music, basically. Music. Okay, favourite book. I was going to do an aside to this and I forgot to bring the book in and say what I had just finished reading, which is the Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings book, which I have showed before, 3 or 4, maybe half a dozen videos back when I first got it, which I found quite enjoyable, but for me it wasn't an easy read. It was quite an academic read. I'm not academic at all, but I liked how, keep moving up the driveway, I've got the light on so people can see me talking to something. I liked how she covered all aspects of the argument, from the pros and the cons, basically. So I found it was quite interesting anyway. And I've certainly got the second book of hers, and I have actually just placed an Amazon order, and ordered Thomas Jefferson's farm book, because I think that would, as how do I put this, having not had an experience of slavery in this country, although the Maoris might argue with that, even though it's probably an obscene read, maybe is the way to look at it, based on what he writes about and what he allocates to people and things like that. I still think it's history and it's interesting. Anyway, I'm waffling, as I'm prone to do, you know that. So the books that I brought to show, this was for a long time my favourite book, Maeve Binchy's Circle of Friends. I haven't read it for ages, so I just remember always thinking this is my favourite book. I must read it again and decide. So I brought it anyway as that. But probably the favourite book of recent year is The Pearl Sister by Lucinda Riley, which is the fourth of the Seven Sisters series that she is writing about. This is the last one to come out. There'll be another one for me in November. They are published at various times in different parts of the world, but for me there'll be a new one in November. And I absolutely love this. I think you could read this as a standalone. It wouldn't matter about the ones before. I think all of them actually you could read as a standalone. You wouldn't have to start from the beginning. But I thoroughly liked this story, and this is one I would read again when I've forgotten all the guts of it. Okay, and then the last question in the Know Your Needleworker is, what word best describes you? And amazingly, I would say shy. I'm very comfortable talking to the screen now. I don't know why. Goodness knows what you think when you watch it, but I'm not worrying about that. I would say I'm probably quite shy. I'm quite introverted. I'm happy in my surrounding with my stuff, and when I go out into the wide world, I want to get back pretty quick. A work colleague and I in England had a plan where I was going to live we were going to buy a cliff, basically. She was going to build a Tai Chi studio on the top of the cliff, and I was going to live in a cave underneath and grow the vegetables that she would have in her cafe and her Tai Chi studio. Yeah, I'd be quite happy just to stay in my little space. Anyway, that is me. There isn't really much else that I can think of to tell you. So I hope you enjoy. It gives you a bit more of an insight. Certainly why I'm able to stitch as much as I stitch, even though sometimes it doesn't look like it. So I shall leave you at 23.5 minutes and catch you next week. As I say, next week will probably be short unless there has been some haul, or I can think of something else to share with you. That is it. Have a good week, everyone. Stitch everything you want to stitch, and I will see you again. Bye for now.